Bear with me, I am a little late on getting started. The bed was, in fact, quite comfortable. Bear with me while I get some stuff up. Oh. Okay. Wonderful. I have been having also charging issues because I dropped my phone into a pizza. Yeah. I'm gonna chat and warm up a little bit. Because I'm honestly in a really good mood. My dumbass decided that, hey, for an hour of stream, lay down. Me. No. And then my body's like, yeah. No, I cheated against my own ideas. And as a result, I may or may not have, well, woken up at the most awkward time. You know? But that's okay. Ow. Damn. And my neck is tighter than I look, and I've been rusted for 50 years. Ow. Okay, we're off to a fantastic start. Tight necks, and we're about to win. Into... Words aren't exactly my friend right now. But yeah. I am thinking about switching my gaming and writing nights around for 1 week. I don't know why, I've had the thought. But I am overall in a good mood. As I said, I've got no complaints, none. It's been a bit of a tumultuous week. Don't want to go into too much. But yeah. So, let's begin. In just a second. Like, I'm not tired, but I'm like, I've got energy, but I'm like vibrating type energy. Like, I want to go for like a run in the rain. What is this? I genuinely don't know what's going on. I have that post wake up clarity of, is that what we call it? I don't know. That's what I'm gonna call it. The post wake up clarity. But I have energy, and that's what's important. Really, that's what's important, and it's gonna ramp up as I wake more up. It's just the worst feeling. Ah. I don't have a category. Oh no. Let's correct that. There we go. So, tonight we are going to be talking about a myriad of different things. We are going to be talking about a myriad of different things. And for writing, I think this is what I would consider more of a harder topic for me, because I don't work very well with this particular type of topic, but I am excited, to say the least. And then we'll play Fallout for a little bit before we close out a little bit of chatting, hanging out. So, that being said, okay. I really need to get some more equipment, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that. I also need to get my oh! Hello, physics. I am... to be honest, I am waking up and about to start teaching today, so it's going to be an interesting evening. Hello, Artemis. Hello. But this right here, I do not write very well. Because I am about as romantically inclined. Oh, I know. The Price City storms can get quite crazy there. Quite trust me. I can hear it from here in the cave. So, admission and disclaimer. And I misspelled admission. I call myself a writer and I misspell a word. Just way to go. I suck at romance. I am terrible at it because I'm a bit sick. I'm like anime protagonist sick when it comes to romance. Because romance is a topic that romance is not something I write easily. Oh. I hate to do this physics, but one moment. But yes. Oh, right, sorry. We have storms and love. This stream might have to get pushed to tomorrow depending on how bad it is. I know it gets confusing. It's not, but my overlays aren't all that complicated. Boom. Now there's the chat. Hello, Wolf Mother. Hello. I'm having the day. There we go. Perfect. So, I probably am not going to last very long with this discussion. This day has been incredibly long for me too, I'll be honest. Like, I have this cave, like, when it rains, like it's about to, water just... I'm lucky dimensional physics doesn't apply to local weather. It's, have fun, Artemis. But Harder Topics tonight is brought to you by possibly one of the more difficult things for me to write, admittedly. So, and because, quite frankly, I am, as I said, I am incredibly dense when it comes to romance, and most of the time that benefits my reader, because when I write romance, I have two sides: incredibly direct, or I get corny as hell and I start sounding like Joss Whedon before he became like creepy. He was known to be creepy. Oh! Oh! Oh, damn! Hold up. Hold up. Oh, thank goodness I'm on the back end of all this. I'm only gonna get slightly flooded. You're in the cat. Admittedly, no. Admittedly, I am more of a saga of an epic. Good to see you, Gen Z. I tend to prefer Lord of the Rings, Dune, or Ender's Game. Romance for me tends to... it just misses the mark most of the time. It has to be... there are exceptions to every rule. Titanic! Titanic! But the way I see romance in narrative is it's like putting... let me think of it this way. That is one thing I have read. That's one of the few romance things I have actually read. For those who are uninformed about Tolkien, The Lay of Luthien is about... words here. It's about Beren and Luthien, that's right. So basically it talks about in the short, Beren was the proto-Aragorn, Luthien was the proto-Arwen. Beren, to prove he loves this lady, I have read The Lay of Luthien. A long time ago, but I have read it. Beren was the guy who decided, hey, I'm gonna give you the ultimate engagement ring in fiction. I'm gonna steal literally a gem of pure light from the crown of my world's devil. This dude went through a whole manner of bullshit and the most beautiful display of fealty and love to one person. He was willing to challenge a literal cosmic entity in Morgoth. So... yeah. But yes, to me, that is what I would call yes, I absolutely agree. Yes. That's actually better than what I was going to say. It's sacrifice and compromise. All relationships, as we know, are based on that. It doesn't mean that every single one will be that, and it doesn't mean that every relationship depicted ever in any form of fiction will ever be like that, because there are things, types of romance, you know, that isn't just like, I'm not talking like, you know, porn, I'm talking like every time I think I've said that word, I feel like I'm saying corn. And it makes me think of Corn from Warhammer, because then it's like, I go from a my mind goes to weird. I play weird word games with myself. But anyway. If you are not prepared in your narrative to have any type of compromise with these characters, you're not really creating a relationship. It's a fictional version of taking the action figures and banging them against each other to say they're kissing when you were a kid. Romance has to be displayed also subtly. At first, depending on the genre, because in case in point with Ryan and James in my universe, their romantic arc does show itself, but it's subtle. Now, if you're writing a romance novel, you know, talking about the ones you find you find at the store, as that one big department store we all know. It has everything short of an attack helicopter. Or the But you know the type of romance novels I'm hoping. You know, it's like the big Fabio-looking fella looking there with a sword, and it's like and all that, yeah. That's not. That doesn't have to be subtle. If writing erotica or intense romance, this is the exception. Erotica's, I'm including it for the sake of common sense. Oh, erotica. Erotica. Thank you. Word. Thank you. Thank you, mouth. But not everything has to be hit something over the head, banging the action figures together. To go off of what Wolfmother said, and add my own thoughts to it, romance has to mirror real life and show sacrifice, compromise, mutual work alongside love. I'm only capitalizing because it adds a little bit better for this particular font, and I don't want to change it to the one I had it. I'm feeling a little bit lazy, I'm not gonna lie. But when we're dealing with these things, I do think that there are topics that don't really even qualify as romance and go more towards this. But that's all down to the writer, their belief system, and what they want to do. The best piece of advice I can also give is for a couple, and this doesn't matter who the couple is. Always remember the same basic rule about with characters. The couple about characters. Wait, let me rephrase that. Same rule as characters with characters. In my opinion, a couple becomes a type of third character in that dynamic. That can change depending on how things are done in certain events and respond to those events. For example, I'm going to use Vladimir and Dumont in my universe now. That they are the emperor and empress of an entire militaristic faction, yet they have a very loose relationship because of the extreme trauma Vladimir has dealt with. And it's a matter of the circumstance and the couple dynamic collab. Glad, traumatized, Demott, sacrificing because he is traumatized, versus ah. Characters. I'm going to name two of Mr. Winters' characters. We're gonna call them S and C. They have always been, and I appreciate that, Jonesy. S and C have a traumatic, separate set of stories that come together. But they are not sacrificing because each of them are traumatized. They are building each other up to overcome that trauma. Or Mr. Draven and Seal. These are Mr. Winter's characters. So different. They have a rather calm relationship, despite the fact that they live in a nightmare realm, to be blunt. Versus... No, that's spoilers. But when you're looking at all of these, right? What is the common theme? They are trying to meet each other together in the middle, and each couple finds different definitions of what meeting in the middle is supposed to be. This is why the couple is a character too. And when I type these, also keep in mind, I don't try to be hyper precise with my wording. I would rather not, because makes it simpler. I'm not having to stop and correct myself 45 million times. But let's continue with the next set of things. But there are also, if we look at Earth, there are same-sex couples, heterosexual couples, couples forged in countless ways. On Earth, you have to keep this in mind, because as writers, we tend to have to remain with a... So, oh crap, excellent, let's delete that. When it comes to the ideals of romance in regards to Earth, when you're dealing with different dimensions where Earth doesn't necessarily apply, you can play up different forms of romance, and we've seen this in other forms of fiction and throughout history. I can't believe I am misspelling words tonight. This is... Marriages of convenience. Arranged marriages. Let's use these two from just Earth in general. Marriage of convenience, usually in modern terms, means it's not necessarily an actual marriage, it's more a relationship of mutual benefit. Arranged marriage is pretty cut and dry. Party A arranges a party B with a marriage of character A and character B. Or person A, person B. Sometimes it's like the trope you'll see I've seen in one or two anime where the characters will be to gain literal monetary benefit. They will marry for that sole reason and not out of love or passion. It's straight cold, and maybe it develops into something else later, but yeah. And that is a trope. I'm not saying that's anyone I've ever seen. That's something I have seen as a trope, as a writing plot point as well. But yes, a contract is another form. There are marriage contracts. When you get married on Earth, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, to those if there's anyone married in the chat, you have marriages, both licenses and like Gen Z said, prenuptial agreements. That's not that weird of a take. Thank you. See, this is one thing I also want writing nights to be. I can teach you what I do, and you guys teach me basic stuff because I'm a sheltered little being, and I don't know much about the world, outside world. I know history, I know food. That's about it. I'm very socially awkwardly inclined. But let me do something really quickly. I see. I want to do a favor for someone. Really quickly. And you had to sign forms. Okay. And again, this goes back to what I'm saying, is like, depending on what you're writing, right. Yeah, and this goes back to what I'm saying, because both, yeah. Marriage is in of itself also an advanced relationship of passion, sacrifice, time, compromise, and also a legal agreement between two parties. Time that's individuals getting married. When we get to the subject of marriages, you need to be very careful about how you handle the marriage in your writing. This is where my mentality when it comes to how to approach this and narrative apply. That was a bunch of word salad. I am so sorry. But when we're talking about this in storytelling, marriages are, in my opinion, are tricky to handle as a storytelling plot point. And yes, it's here. Yes, it's storming outside the cave, but I'm alright. Everything's okay. Not reading that bad. No, no flickers of power. Alright. Checking something. Let me check something again. Okay. No worries. Do keep in mind that when it comes to this type of stuff, we have to be very, diligent, as a general rule. Yeah, I've heard that this storm system is coming through, where I'm at, in Price City. It's anything but pretty, I'll say that. But, back to our programming. Marriages are, in my opinion, tricky to handle as a storytelling plot point because, like I said earlier, couples become an extra character. If you're going for realism, marriages become couple squared. Regardless of any type of environment or setting. Because a fantasy setting, a marriage could be an incredibly important deal that could bring a family out of poverty. In science fiction, it could be maintaining the status quo. In modern terms, it could be an arranged marriage, it could be a traditional marriage, it could be Romeo and Juliet, it could be Bonnie and Clyde. There are countless forms of ways you have and things you have to think of, no matter what kind of couple, what type of relationship. And marriages are extremely tricky to do, depending. Oh yeah, I'm speaking from a writing perspective, but thank you for that information. But we want for looking at all of this, that my ultimate focus is that relationships, romance, couples, and marriages each have their unique challenges. Relationships are more than romantic. They are simply things that go beyond they're simply things that include friendship, etc., etc. Romance is a simpler topic, but, excuse me, is a complex topic for me. Because I'm dense and a bit of an idiot. But, because of the delicate nature required to handle any type of romantic writing. Uh-oh. Yes, exactly. That's exactly what you're doing with romance. Because couples are, it's not just character A, character B, it's character A and B as well. This isn't relationships in regards to writing for me, this, I usually will refer to this formula. Like Genzu said, even if it's a polyamorous relationship you're writing, then it's just A, B, and C, A plus B plus C. This is a way to help me. This is how I visualize relationships. Hello, Iris. We have been talking about romance. This is the basic summary of how I see relationships in the most weird Mario way possible. Because from a writing perspective, when you are thinking about that, because to quickly recap, I see relationships with characters are both characters, and the couple itself should be treated as its own character. So A and B, and then A plus B. For character A, character B, and then characters A and B. And then it's the same way with polyamorous relationships when you're writing. Now, so with marriages, with writing. And that, I'm honestly similar, and to be quite open, that's just, I'm very much similar in mind. Because, you know, it's very hard for me to like you said, I'm very much the same way in that it's also hard for me to convey what I want the characters to get across. In book 3, for example, Ryan has very obvious developed feelings for James, but it's not quite, the sparks aren't quite flying. I call it circling in the harbor. This is when the narrative will produce the romantic arc, and this is something I've just my own pattern that I've noticed. And we'll get to that in a moment. When you're dealing with a narrative arc, we'll come back to marriages. Because now I really want to talk about this, because I do think this is fascinating. Where the characters are slowly falling in love, and they're not moving, and that I commend you. Bonnie and Clyde is a very interesting. They are a very interesting story. Now, circling in the harbor. We'll come back to that in just a second. Circling in the harbor is basically when you're not quite getting there the way you want it to be, but the storylines are more or less storyline is producing it at the pace it's going to produce it. Or it's coming there. It's coming. Just wait. Now. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. It does just write it for you. But with poly relationships, you are correct. When you're writing a polyamorous relationship, you do need to make sure that each of the 3 characters has an even display for that couple. And this is why romance is extremely difficult for me to write at times. And going back to Iris's comment about Bonnie and Clyde, they are a very, probably one of them, Romeo and Juliet, Jack and Rose, let's just use those 3 examples. Those are 3 different, wildly different forms of relationship. Sometimes that each display a different type of romance. With Bonnie and Clyde, it's something similar to how what's incoming slight spoilers for Sinners. In that a lot of the messaging of the film is dealing about how these brothers who were literally coming back from the war, they literally had their, for just a little bit, they weren't worried about anything. So all the horror, spooky stuff starts. And they also work for Al Capone, but I don't want to spoil too much. It is an exquisite film. But there are elements of what I'm talking about with romance, and that you see. But in the film, that goes into more passion, heat of the moment, people falling in love, having history, talking about how you have the bond. Some of this, you start together. Quote, well, I'm gonna quote another movie. They ride or die is what most people call it nowadays. And yes, Gen Z is absolutely correct. Sometimes it will write itself. I've seen that happen in other narratives. I will never be remiss to say that it absolutely will just jump out at you. Sorry about that. Looking at the wrong thing. I shouldn't be looking at that. I'm gonna be self-conscious. My bad. And it's just my stream summary. But anyway. Now, finally, with marriages. And we will be getting to the topic I promised you, Iris, next, so. Oh, and I will be uploading harder topics to my YouTube channel because I've really been enjoying this. And next Monday, I have a surprise for you guys. We're gonna start another game that's been... And I've been having nothing but fun. And I will link my YouTube channel, but I will be getting, over the weekend, I will be getting this part and part 2 onto the YouTube channel as quickly as I can. So, with marriages in writing, you have to understand that to maintain how important and delicate and I'm sure as some of you can admit, complicated. You have to maintain the complexities of the world that you're living in, what marriage will look like for that world, because marriage can look completely different on some worlds than it does in others. In Razia, from my narrative, I'm going to spell that real quick. Tarazia. A Tarazian will enact marriage. Part of marriage is grabbing the horns of the lover. They are very zen. I'm not sure xenophilia is the right word. But anyway, if this is considered, anyway, sorry. Anyway, this is trembling over my words. This, in my narrative, is a very deeply spiritual moment for the Tarazia because it's an act of vulnerability and trust. Now, I don't want to put you on the spot, Wolf Mother, but what's marriage like in your narrative, if you don't mind my asking? Iris, you're welcome to and Gen Z, you're both welcome to give examples from your own worlds as well. But let me fill in while y'all respond. There we go. And eventually I will get some point redeems. I need to get the emotes figured out. But, sorry, I was looking at something on my only other screen, which is my phone. No. Yeah, that's generally wraps up most of my thoughts on marriage. We'll move on to another topic here soon. Here in just a second. I can't believe it. Wow, I look at the wrong thing. I'm a goober. Okay. Sorry, I need to check something on account of the weather here in Price City. No worries. No worries. We are about to switch to another topic that I promised Iris we would go back to. I'm going to talk about that now. We are going to actually go back to the original document I wrote for it. I'm going to do I circle back around here in just a second. Alright, so Don't worry. I will make sure that things get handled appropriately. So, again, I don't mind y'all seeing that. So, prejudice. Actually, you know what? We need to go back to the other document. Because that isn't quite covering everything. And once again, Mari misspells the word. Prejudice is an extremely hard topic for some people to cover. And if somebody can't cover it accurately, give them time to do better and give them time to grow. Because not everybody can handle the same themes as a writer. Stephen King writes cosmic horror far better than I do. He also writes things I will never speak of on this channel. No. But back on, let's keep on topic. When it comes to writing, when you are dealing with themes of this nature, prejudice should be something that should be addressed with extreme care. And it's always something. I'm going to mostly stick to examples that I used in when I got to species prejudice. Species-based prejudice. That is the most, and that is one of the reasons I'm doing Writing Night. I want to create an open dialogue, an open discussion that anybody can come in here and talk back and forth with me about this on a civil way. I'm not meaning that as like a code of buzzword. I'm with me, this is cut and dry, as Southern Mom said earlier. It's cut and dry, and it's about it, and it is what these nights are what makes it important. Get good. What do I gotta get good with? I'm already great. What are you talking about? Oh, trust me. I love I love being critiqued. And I love criticism. I really do. That will be the final part of Harder Topics for tonight. but we'll get to that in a minute. But let's. Well, yes, I don't want someone to come over to me with a microphone in hand, get up in my face like it's pro wrestling, and be like, Mari, I don't like your coat. Oh please. Oh please, when we get to me playing games that won't... I am a determined son of a bitch. Maybe with a few barbs, I cannot rhyme. I can't rap, I can't rhyme. Honestly, when it comes to that, and we talked about this, I know for a fact, in one night. When it comes to that, exactly. Absolutely. Now, on to the first theme of the topic around prejudice. If you have a dragon in your D&D campaign or your story, and it just hates humans because it's a fucking dragon. This goes back to what I said in the earlier document about sometimes prejudice will be handled with care, and other times it's you might as well take a sledgehammer to the reader's head. Hey, do you get it? Do you get it? Hello? Oh, wow. I'm sorry about that. Pardon your headphone users. But yes. A dragon that hates humans. Exactly. Well, I'm using the example of more of something, a dragon that has prejudice against humans, but yes, you're absolutely correct. That is them looking down on you. Vampires are much the same way. But when we get to actual hard-boiled prejudice, research. Take extreme care with what language you use and what your setting is. Certain things are going to be permissible in perhaps something where elves are looked down on by humans or vice versa. Look at the way they portray Elrond in some of the Lord of the Rings films. In some cases, he comes across at the beginning of the first film, men are weak. Because, yes, another example, exactly. Look at the Galactic Empire in Star Wars. Despite the fact that Imperial officers and the Sith, with the exception of Palpatine, are dressed impeccably. Yeah, Warhammer. That's we'll get the but we'll get the Warhammer. I will forever associate Warhammer with the man on that. Yeah, yeah, it really is. It is prejudice the universe. That is Warhammer 40k, an example. But when you're researching prejudice and how to approach it, think about setting. For example, if you have a setting where humans are mostly united, but racist against elves, certain Earth language should be avoided. To be fair, that's a fair point, because most of the time, a dragon is literally just defending their home. Yes. That's also important. Story-based explanations are key. It does, but to a different point. Let me see here. I'm gonna pull this up and. Here we go. This feeds into something I spoke of in part 1. Where you want context within your world, and that is a form of world building. There is context of why humans are hyper prejudiced in Warhammer, because of the hyper bureaucratic humans in Warhammer are hyper bureaucratic, hyper controlled, hyper zealous. And they hate anything that so much is not even remotely human. Religious prejudice is also something you need to think about. This goes also into another concept. This is also something I talked about. Called complex simplicity, where it's simply a measuring stick that I've observed in writing, where a character grows more complex. Sometimes these types of things can grow more complex as the story itself also progresses and becomes more complex and changes. This is all based on, and yes, it is a very weird and interesting cycle. It's all based upon the needs of what your writing requires. So you need that context when it comes to prejudice themes. For example, this is lowbrow, I'll admit, but in my own narrative, in the second half, I explore how vampires, and yes, vampires exist in my universe, look down on Tarazians, most of them. And how Tarazians are seen as they're seen as broken and shattered folk to most of the galaxy. In reality, the Tarazians are like, what are you talking about, bro? Yeah, we're down, but we're not out. So this goes into why you need that story-based explanation. And this also feeds into my other second rule, which is take extreme care with what type of language is used when dealing in a storyline with prejudice. Other people can write this more masterfully than others. This is not a put down to other writers. This is not put down to any writer in particular. This is a cold hard fact. Misusing certain types of language is dangerous when it comes to this type of storyline. And this is, and Iris, this is why I agree this is a very sensitive and harsh topic. Oh no, you're fine with typos. So, when it comes to this, no, I'm talking about Earth derivatives. When you're talking like stuff you see in fantasy or even in my own stuff, which is not that much, but there's little jabs that characters will take at each other. And that's more what I would call faction-based prejudice. It's more competitions, like the Marines in the Army. That kind of deal. But be careful with what words you use and how you have everything about that. Because that's dangerous and it can mess with you in how things are represented to you. And by you. Because remember, like I said during the politics stream, beliefs are something we absolutely cannot ignore, because it is possible to be apolitical, but your beliefs are going to be in your writing, whether you want them there or not. So always take care of extreme with how you frame language and how you frame these scenarios and frame these moments. Yes, and keep an open and let the story guide you, but don't let it go too far off into the weeds. Love that phrase. I love that phrase. But these types of topics are important because, like Jancy said, we have to keep an open mind. We have to push boundaries as writers. We are, to me, is a form of, is a part of, it's a part of the gig. When you are writing a story, you are taking part in something that is bigger than you. And you have to keep that in mind. Because, and I've worked on several worlds, I've worked on several types of storylines. I've tried admittedly a few times to handle this topic within my own narrative, but this current manuscript set of 4, 5, and 6 is the only one where it's actually been something unique to itself. The other thing is your answer will be similar to some and maybe different than what you think it might be. This is to me writing 101. Every character you create, every word you write, everything you send is a reflection of us as writers, not the politics, but our ideas. Sometimes ideas and politics mingle, but that's okay. It's different for every person. I would work. My advice with something like that, if you're dealing with non-Earth races, don't use Earth-based pejoratives. Because some of them are. You don't want to do that. You don't want to come with that. With the lack of improper setting, they can be misused and they could paint you in a bad light. And I'll admit, and coming up with pejoratives and names to call other species in your fictional setting that's set, in my case, a different galaxy. It's actually not something you really have. I don't. If in your case, Iris, crafting those phrases for the sake of the narrative might be something you want to look into, I won't directly recommend it. I will say float the idea. But do not use anything from Earth if you can help it. Actually, don't. In my opinion, don't do anything. In my opinion, don't use from Earth, period, when you're dealing with two different races that aren't from Earth. Dwarves and elves. Right? An elf will make fun of a dwarf's height, his beard. And for dwarves making fun of elves, look at, Dwarven Dad. Making fun of, their appearance, about how dainty and how, Vichy, I guess. Elves could technically be portrayed depending on what form of, what media you're going to look at. So, but you don't ever see them insulting each other for that, or look at light and dark elves. They will poke at each other for very different things because they come from very different worlds, especially in the Forgotten Realms. I don't. Let's not talk about Wolf. Like, I ain't doing that without Mr. Winters. Pardon the eyes closed. I think I'm a little too far from my camera. I know I've had my eyes closed all day, but that's on me. But you want to make sure that you don't use these types of things if you're not prepared for the gravity of what it can bring also. Prejudice is an extremely complicated and heavy topic that you have to take carefully. And I commend anyone who goes for this, goes for that, because challenging ideas is, again, something I do think is partly about being a writer. So, in short, research, careful, be context, be mindful and respectful of the gravity that this topic holds here on Earth. That is, to me, how you handle this particular topic. And we're going to be talking about... Here, we talked about classism, politics, religion, prejudice, discrimination falls under this exact same stuff as well. Look at the Dark Elves in the Forgotten Realms, the stuff with Lolth and how they are a matriarchal society that does view men as inferior. And I'm not saying that because, like, it's more like, that's just how it's written. Think about Smog. Think about elves and dwarves. But also keep in mind the respect and care you have to have when addressing this topic. Because sometimes not sometimes. This right here that I've highlighted is the golden rule with this type of topic, in my opinion. So, that will conclude, I think, I have not, but I will be getting to that very soon, I think. I have very particular thoughts on how I want to approach that particular one. That topic is not easily one you talk about. You know, because you've gotta be very careful about how you handle it. So let's switch to just chatting. We'll hang out for the next 30. I'm going to show you guys something. Pull it up on here. Almost done. So I will here in just a second show you guys something incredibly cool. That I got from the artist second issue. Then we're gonna talk about Anaxa, because holy but let's pull this up really quickly. It's taking so long. Sammy Drawings did this. This is Talbot. I did not expect the animated, and I was so ecstatic, and I'm so grateful for the work they did for me. But yes, let me give y'all a more appropriate picture, like a comparison. So beefy, takes up the whole screen. Oh man. Talbot's Arby's. Talbot and Arby's. Collab. I am not going to apologize for that one. That one made me laugh. Let me see here. I have... Where did I put that? There's so many screenshots. I keep too many screenshots. I really do. Well, I can't find it, but so boom. I am over the moon. I am extremely grateful to you, Sammy. Thank you so much. Really. I'm always grateful for everything I do and get. I'm able to do for people. I'm also grateful for everything I can get in return from people, and I'm grateful for kindness. No. I have to give them a shout out. Please give them a follow if you haven't already. Sammy, Lauren, you guys are amazing. Like, oh, and that was a drawing of Talbot who I need to get to someone really soon after this. But yeah, Talbot beefed up. He got them muscles. I measured it myself for the measurements for the suit. It was getting that chest measurement was a nightmare. We had to get like a comically sized like tape measure, and that was like a novelty item. And he's like, ah! No. All seriousness, Lauren and Sammy are amazing artists. They are incredibly talented artists, and I'm grateful for both of them. But y'all want to know what the surprise is? That it's going to be coming Monday? Anybody want to know? Monday, as long as I can get it to work, we will be playing Elder Scrolls Oblivion Remastered as Mari. So I'm gonna close all the gates. But that will be determined if I can get to play for at least more than 5 minutes. But I'm excited to announce that because I'm hyper paranoid. I have been since I started I had a whole issue with my previous computer. Ow! 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 Okay, sorry about that. Model going haywire, and Mari's right leg is falling asleep. Oh, hopefully I won't fall over when I get up. But I will be making detailed responses probably mid to late June about like Lycoran Legends. I'm going to work on I have the forward narrated. I'm going to get something for it done. But I'm nervous and excited. Oh, no, it'll go for 3. We'll be here. The first full stream will just be me messing with the character creator, getting everything just right. Why? Me and a good character creator goes very hard. Also, apparently, breathing does not right now. Now, let's also talk about what I have planned for, like, Horn Legends in terms of what it's going to look like. 'Cause I have a general idea now. Jay will be helping with Horn Legends proper. Let me give them a shout out as well. Yes. Gotta write this on. Wonderful. Jay is an incredibly talented artist. I love their work. The stuff that they are helping me with will come later. Their life priorities take precedence. I'm not on any particular timetable, but I am going to work on getting some stuff ready for working. But how it's going to look is it's going to basically look like a traditional story that's going to be something for people to enjoy over on the YouTube channel. And I will be uploading it as soon as I will have the foreword ready. I will have it uploading it with music, which I'm going to have to go and look through. I have some royalty-free things I have, and I do it. I have some ideas. But we'll see. So, what I want to go to promise you guys is that harder topics is probably what I'm just gonna call writing nay. Going forward, because I kind of like the title. And I'm going to start working on my thumbnail game here soon, too. I've got a few ideas for each of them. I do want to show you guys one thing over on my X account. Okay. Thanks to North Noah's Celestial Ram, they gave me my first meme. I am P! Can y'all find me? Can y'all find me? Y'all see me? I'm not gonna lie, it took me like... I found myself pretty quickly. But, then again, I did? I did, didn't I? But yes. IMP. But honestly, I'm just happy in general. I really am. Things are going well over here, and I'm quite happy with how they are going. But now that I've got stuff established, and I think I've got myself mostly figured out, I think we will probably work on establishing... Writing night will probably be here on Twitch in perpetuity forever. I love doing it. I love talking about this, and I want to have I want to expand it to invite other writing minds that I know to debate topics, or help me develop a lesson plan in some cases. Because I really do enjoy these seminars and stuff. Hello out there! Hello! I've also got to figure out how to get my emotes on, because it's not letting me select the ones that were made for me. Ow! But I will have to worry about that another day. I have got a lot to take care of. Tomorrow, I'm going to be working on getting Chapter 5 of Leghorn Legends prepared. I can. And I will. And I just noticed this is the first time where my chat overlay doesn't make me want to hate myself. Because one of my eternal battles as a VTuber, since I've started, has been right here. Over to my chat box. What happens? You want to know what happens? It's very, very simple. It's, well... I'm stubborn, and I want it to look exactly the way I want it to look, and it won't go and do anything I want to do. So, I'll sit here, middle of stream, it's like, Mari, we're waiting, Mari, we're waiting, Mari, we're waiting. That's what I'm hearing in my head, by the way. You know, like, at 5 seconds, I have to fix this. I would suppose that is the Beatles' influence, but you will meet the Beatles in time as well. Ah. I have an idea, but this has been a really, really good night, so. Let's end on a positive note. We're gonna do a raid tonight. And oh, the other thing I want to do is we're gonna do a watch along the Epic if I can remember. But yeah. I'm going to send y'all to Omega Player 5. He is playing Dying Light. Right there. But you guys have a good night.